An injury scare to LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, and an Alabama legend stops by. We'll talk with Bobby Humphrey about his new Crimson Tide documentary. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along on today's show. Bobby Humphrey going to stop by. We'll talk with him about the new Alabama documentary, Nothing But a Winner. It's out in theaters now. But we'll also get you caught up on all the latest going on around fall camps, all going on across the SEC, and some more injury news. So we'll get you caught up on that. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, let's dive into it. I know we spent a good bit of yesterday's show talking about LSU with our buddy Matt Moscona, but more news at LSU as an online rumor circulated Wednesday afternoon saying that LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier had suffered a serious knee injury at practice, possibly a torn ACL. And while those were just rumors from unsubstantiated sources, the report still spread like wildfire, causing some concern and a lot of panic within the fan base. Of course, LSU, some of their practices are open to the media and some are closed. And yesterday's just happened to be a closed practice. And so with the LSU media not allowed in until, a couple days from now, things went rampant. And so Wilson Alexander of The Advocate was the first I saw to address the online rumors. And he said, according to his sources, the Tiger quarterback is fine. Of course, Nussmeier is one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country, 4,000-yard passer last year. He's the first LSU quarterback to pass for 4,000 yards and return the next season. And he comes in with a lot of Heisman buzz, potential, can LSU be a national championship contender? Could Garrett Nussmeier be the number one pick? I mean, there's all this stuff that's up in the air for him. Well, according to Tiger Rag magazine, they tweeted out last night, sources present at the LSU practice on Wednesday confirmed that Nussmeier did not endure a major injury nor require assistance off the field. Instead, it was described as just a tweak, with Nussmeier seen walking off under his own power. Now, according to On3, they say Brian Kelly exercised caution by instructing Nussmeier to sit out the remainder of the practice session. And with a recovery day scheduled for Thursday, the timing allows Nussmeier an extra day of rest before LSU resumes practice on Friday. So, again, internet rumors, I always say consider the source. Look, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, look at who the source is, right? It used to be, a couple of years ago, if somebody had a blue check mark, that verified, oh, okay, they are legit. But these days, guys, you know who the beat writers are, right? You know who the people are that are at practices, or at least have an ear to the ground with sources. If it's an account called Uncle Bobby and it has 300 Twitter followers, guess what? It's probably wrong. But, the people that are in the know, Bruce Feldman, national college football reporter, said texted an LSU source about the rumors involving Garrett Nussmeier. Quote, yeah, he's fine. These people are unreal. Shay Dixon of On3 said buzz is swirling around Garrett Nussmeier after speaking with multiple sources. I separated facts from fiction. Don't hit the panic button. Jacques Doucet from WAFB in Baton Rouge. Garrett Nussmeier is okay. A source at LSU confirms. And Jacob Hester, who would know more than him. He's at practices as an alum. Garrett Nussmeier is all good, y'all. You can relax. So clearly something happened, right? I mean, again, we're reading between the lines here. The unsubstantiated reports that people were putting out there, he was carted off. He was carted off. Well, again, if you go by Tiger Rag sources, they say it was just a tweak, and he was walking off the field under his own power. So, if it is indeed knee injury, that's concerning. But again, seems like it's not major. Seems like, and the way they say it is, we got an off day Thursday, let him rest. He'll be back out there Friday. So, sounds like crisis averted here for LSU fans, but still not what you want to hear with three weeks out from the start of the season. And by the way, it's not like they're, the concerns over DJ Lagway at Florida. They open with Long Island. They're okay there. LSU's got to go play on the road at Clemson. That's as tough as it gets. So, got to think they'll be putting Garrett Nussmeier in bubble wrap over these next couple of weeks to make sure he is fully healthy and ready to go. LSU's backup, Michael Van Buren, the freshman transfer from Mississippi State from a year ago, got his first taste of the SEC, started a bunch of games down the stretch last year and went through his growing pains, but probably not who you want to lean on to go start a season opener on the road at Clemson. So again, not saying he will. Sounds like Garrett Nussmeier is going to be fine, but again, if anything, here is a lesson in internet. Trust sources you know, not ones you don't. All right, in other SEC injury news, gosh, it's just rampant. Florida freshman wide receiver Dallas Wilson, according to Gator Country, will be out, quote, a couple of weeks due to a lower leg injury that has him in a hard cast below the left knee. He was the number 35 overall prospect in this last recruiting cycle, and man, put on a show in the spring game for Florida, caught almost 200 yards with 2 touchdowns on 10 catches. And he's the latest Gator wideout dealing with a setback this camp. He joins Khalil Jackson, Aiden Mizell, and Trey Wilson, all of whom were absent during Tuesday's practice viewing period. And the string of absences creates a lot of uncertainty around Florida's receiving depth, as DJ Lagway's looking around going, guys, I need some weapons. I need some guys to throw the football to. Again, pending the severity, the injury is significant. Florida was counting on having Wilson be an immediate force for them. If you go look at some of the depth charts, they've got them listed right there. Now, they do have J. Michael Sturdivant, who came over through the portal, but man, if they're going to be without Dallas Wilson for a couple of weeks, according to this report, just wonder, okay, so is he not ready for week 1 against Long Island? Week 2, you host South Florida, and then it's a road trip at LSU. That is a lot to deal with injury concerns at the wide receiver spot. So I've heard number 8, Vernell Brown, the freshman, he might be a guy ready to step into a bigger role. We shall see. But for the Florida Gators, that camp injuries, especially for freshmen, it's just it's taken its toll so far. So best of luck to those guys, and hopefully they can get healthy here soon. How about over at Oklahoma? They had some injuries of their own. Brent Venables and his staff dealing with some injuries and some guys coming in through the transfer portal. One of the issues all of last year was injuries, and the Sooners lost some skilled players earlier in the season for the entire year. So here's hoping that doesn't happen here. But Parker Thune, reporting at practice, put this out yesterday, said wide receiver Dion Burks and wide receiver Jaden Ott were in pads but doing rehab work. Caden Helms, his hand was in a soft cast. Grayson Halton warmed up but did not practice. Javante Barnes and Torrey Blaylock were the only fully active running backs. Obviously, Ott and Dion Burks are 2 of the most important players for the Sooner offense. Ott probably, obviously, coming in expected to be the bell cow workhorse in the backfield. And Dion Burks, who transferred in last season, was one of the big pieces expected to contribute at wide receiver, and he dealt with injuries for so much of the year. So certainly something we will keep an eye on there. How about over at Auburn? Hugh Freeze saying he did not like how his guys practiced yesterday. He said there were spurts of practice that were really good, and others we just kind of got through. You would think we have a little bit more energy, I would hope. So Hugh Freeze saying we got to get going here. Got to have some better practices. Told reporters Wednesday's practice was below his expectations from an energy standpoint. They will open against Baylor on the road coming up August 30th. That is 1, 2, 3, or 29th rather. That's 3 weeks from this Friday. 3 weeks from this Friday, Auburn on the road. There was some good news for Auburn, though, this week. Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton are 2 stud wide receivers named to the preseason Biletnikoff watch list. Coleman coming off of his impressive freshman season. Eric Singleton coming in via the transfer portal from Georgia Tech. Or to Alabama, Ryan Grubb, their offensive coordinator, working hand in hand with Kalen DeBoer, hoping to have a nice season at Alabama. And he spoke with the media on Tuesday, said he's really excited about the way the offensive line's playing. He said the physicality that they've been showing, the leadership that Center Parker Brailsford's been able to have. So it's been a lot of fun to coach guys like him and Caden Proctor. So Proctor's a hungry guy that's obviously super talented, has God-given ability, works really hard and diligent about the process. And look, there's no doubt if Alabama's going to be successful this year, that offensive line is going to have to perform at a high level. How about over at Ole Miss? That new SEC football Any Given Saturday Netflix series dropped. You missed our interview with Paul Martin earlier this week. You can find that on Locked On SEC. But on Wednesday, Lane Kiffin had to answer questions about why Ole Miss was not featured in the documentary. He said, "What you see is what you get here. I really just never wanted cameras to be in here. Felt like it's always just been a little phony, and I've just always been against it. From a team perspective, I just don't think it's good." Several other teams like Alabama, Texas, and Oklahoma are not featured in the documentary either, but schools like Florida, LSU, South Carolina, and others are. So we'll see, if there's season 2 of that, maybe Lane Kiffin says yes and allow some cameras in. How about over at Georgia? Their defense coordinator Glenn Schumann speaking with the media this week, talking about the defense at Georgia this year. He said, look, last year was not up to the standard. He said, we were not consistent enough to meet the standard. That's just reality. It has to be better, and you can't be up and down. Consistency is the mark of a great defense. So we'll see if Georgia can get back to having one of their trademark hard-nosed, run-stuffing, not allowing you to score defenses this year. And lastly, Paul Feinbaum was making his appearance on Get Up this week and was asked who he thinks will win the 2025 Heisman Trophy winner. Heisman Trophy, rather. And Feinbaum said, come on, you know what the answer is. It is Arch Manning. He said, here's why. It isn't because I'm in love with the guy. It's because he's going to win that first game against Ohio State on the biggest stage of college football. All of a sudden, it's going to be Arch Mania. It's going to transcend the sport of college football. He has so many other big moments during the season, and the Heisman is often won by those big moments. For what it's worth, it's not the biggest, going out on a limb thing. Arch is considered, according to many sports books, the preseason favorite to win the Heisman. So not exactly a crazy bet on Feinbaum's part. All right. When we return here on Locked On SEC, Alabama legend Bobby Humphrey, father of great defensive back Marlon Humphrey, he's got a new project he is a part of. It is a documentary called Nothing But a Winner, chronicling the history of the Alabama Crimson Tide football program, focusing on the errors of legendary coaches Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. We'll talk with Bobby Humphrey coming up in just a second. Hey, but first, guys, look, want to remind you about our friends over at FanDuel. Of course, the summer is winding down. We're getting ever so close to the start of the college football season, and you want to make sure you are set up and ready to go with our friends at FanDuel. It's the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. You're already watching the games. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game and get your friends in as well. We've been using FanDuel to track all our favorite matchups. A lot of those week 1 games in the SEC already up there. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. And whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning of a baseball game, FanDuel is going to make you feel like you are part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, if you've never signed up before, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit them online at FanDuel.com. Get signed up, get started, and get in there, get ready for the start of what should be another exciting football season over at FanDuel. Rolling along here, Locked On SEC, and a pleasure to be joined by an SEC legend, a guy by the name of Bobby Humphrey, here to talk about a new movie coming out, documentary called Nothing But a Winner, all about the Alabama football dynasty. It is in theaters July 31st. Executive produced by former Crimson Tide and first-team All-Pro cornerback Marlon Humphrey and his father, Bobby Humphrey, a 2-time All-American at Alabama, as well as a Pro Bowl running back, and he joins us now. Bobby, welcome in, man. Thanks so much for taking some time.
Man, Chris, thanks so much for being on, and appreciate you having me on, man. I appreciate that.
Nothing But a Winner, all about the greatest college football program in the history of the sport, the University of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Talk to us a little bit about where this idea came from, and I guess was it your son's idea? Was it your idea? Who came up with the idea?
It was a combination of actually my daughter, who's also a producer in it. Her and Caleb Castile generated a conversation, and then they talked to a few filmmakers there in Hollywood and a friend there out of Nashville, and they came up with a strategized plan and a concept and a story that they would like to paint, and then kind of Marlon got on board. And, you know, it's kind of like Jeremiah Castile, his family, Bobby Humphrey and his family, and they all came together. And I'm telling you, it's something pretty special when you're talking about getting a group of guys from the old, from the past, and from the young and the new, and bringing them all together and allowing them to talk a little bit about the dynasty of Alabama football, but more of a story that was, I think, that we wanted to portray was how you build and you overcome, and, you know, just a lot of different points in the film that I think are very instrumental and inspirational to people who go out and see it. So, you know, looking at the premiere on about a week ago at the red carpet premiere, you know, it's one of those things that where, you know, Chris, you laughed because there were some funny parts, and you cried because there were some sad parts, and you rejoiced at some of the transitional parts. It's just a, you know, like a power blast of just energy in and out the movie. So it's something that came about with those guys, and then we put it all together, and here we are now trying to promote it and get people out to the theaters on the 31st.
It is wild because, you know, you could do a whole documentary on just the Bear Bryant years and integrating black players and all that. You could do a documentary on just the Nick Saban years. I mean, so collectively to put it all together, I mean, you're telling the history of Alabama football, but I'm sure, man, this thing could have been 6 hours if you wanted it to be.
It really could have. And, you know, some parts in there they even missed that they didn't do, and they weren't able to interview everybody. That was one of the things that the guys stood up and said before they showed the documentary, you know, in the premiere. You know, hey, I apologize, because there were over 100 former players, athletes, trainers, coaches that was at the premiere. You know, it's the facility said about, you know, 750, and it was packed. And I can remember the executive director stood up and said, listen, I want to apologize up front if we didn't get a chance to interview you, we didn't get a chance to interview your cousins or your granddaddy. So he covered all aspects of the people that went in the film. I was very fortunate to be in it because I had an executive producer and a co-producer that were part of the filmmaking, and they only gave me a couple of sound bites, but I did make the cut. But you're right, it could have went on for hours. So they narrowed it all down, cut it, sliced it, spiced it, and narrowed it down, because my interview process took about an hour, you know, an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half. Well, I only got like 3 or 4 sound bites. So, you know, and they did that with everybody, and they traveled throughout the country. You know, you got the first black to ever be on scholarship, which is Wilbert Jackson. His interview was very, very powerful. You got the first black quarterback, Walter Lewis. His interview is very, very important. And those was in the days that you mentioned of, you know, where the program was segregated. And Coach Bryant had to come in and, you know, bring in the first player and integrate the football team, which that's all covered in the movie. And it's very inspirational, inspiring, and it just gives you energy that you just love it the way Coach. And you have a tremendous amount. Those who respect Coach Bryant as a coach, they're going to see a different side of him and going to respect him even more as the way he handled that situation with his players.
Yeah, I was just looking at the list of names. I mean, old school to new school: Sylvester Croom, Mike Loxley, Ozzie Newsome, C.J. Mosley, Jalen Hurts is in it, the Super Bowl winner, Jerry Jeudy, Greg Byrne, and of course the GOAT, Nick Saban. I mean, who got him on board? Was it Marlon? Who did it take to get Saban on board?
I have no idea, but I can remember my daughter saying this here. I think she the one made the initial call. And I don't know, maybe Marlon kind of gave him a heads up that he was going to be calling. And, you know, one thing about Saban, he has that same Bear Bryant approach and the same type of makeup. He want to take care of his players. Anything that his players are involved in that's good, he want to be a part of it. He want to be inspirational to him and help him in any way he possibly can. But my daughter was telling me when they interviewed him, he came in with a big smile on his face. He kind of had a lot of positive energy. And his interview was just great. I mean, for the documentary, and they got him on board, and they obviously got Greg Barnes on board. So I mean, it was, but everybody really wanted to be a part of it. It was one of those things to where I don't think they got any no's from anybody. Now, there were some people that just schedules couldn't match up to where they could get in front of them at a decent time before the deadline of the film needed to be cut off before they started putting all the pieces together. But everybody that they talked to was interested in being a part of it. So that's the amazing thing.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun to check out. And of course, it's you got to pay tribute to the old school with the new school. Nick Saban obviously elevated and brought the days of Bama dominance back and to a level nobody's ever seen before, and became the greatest of all time. But it's funny you mentioned that he's smiling and laughing at times in this, because he's been doing that more post-coaching career than he was during his coaching career. I always heard the story, it'd be seconds after winning the national championship, he holds up the trophy, and then immediately he's going, all right, I need to know, are you coming back? Are you coming back? He's already turning the page to next season. And it's like, just take a second to enjoy the greatness. So it is good now, post-coaching career, that he can look back and reflect on the winning and how great it was.
Yeah, I think he's going to enjoy it once he sees it. I don't know if he's had a chance to see the whole thing, but I tell you, one of the comments in the documentary, and I don't want to spill all the things, but I love for people to go out and see it. It's about 1 hour and 30 minutes long, but it's never one boring moment in it. It's all just energized. It's like, now there's some sad moments in it, but you're going to stay locked in from start to finish. But it was funny. Coach Lockley was talking about how they had won the national championship, and they get called into a meeting like the next day, and Saban is talking about how they didn't lose, they didn't win it. They actually was given the game. They got a lot of work to do. I mean, and then they said we just won the national championship. He said, well, that was last year. And Lockley said, Lockley said, I started thinking, last year? That was last night.
That's great. Oh, hey, look, that's the expectation he had, and that's why the greatness was born there. The movie is Nothing But a Winner, again, coming out to theaters July 31st. And cool that you guys have so many different partners that worked on this to get this thing distributed, because it feels like these days people don't want to get out to a theater as much anymore because of the streaming and all this. But there really is no experience about getting out to the theater and getting to see something like this, right?
There's not. And it's amazing here in Alabama, especially here in Birmingham. We all planning a family, attending the theaters on next Thursday, and and we waited so late to now we can't find 6 seats together, so we've had to wait till the next day to get our tickets. So it's got a really, really good buzz. People are hearing about it. People are excited about it, and you can just get your ticket at any local AMC, and once you click on the link, it'll direct you and put in your zip code. It's going to be showed in your area, Chris, in California, all throughout the United States, at your local theaters. And it's just exciting about the energy that is centered around this film. Everybody I spoke to after the film, former players and coaches, even my trainer that was back at Alabama when I was there, they all text me and they said, wow, that was not what I was expecting. The film is great. And so I tell you don't want to miss it. It's going to be really, it's going to really impact some people in a lot of ways.
Talking with Bobby Humphrey, and just got a couple more for you here, Bobby. Crazy thing, Marlon, headed into his 9th NFL season already, and all in one place, which is rare these days. He must be loving it there in Baltimore. He's doing something right.
Man, he has really done a really good job, and he loves Coach Harbaugh and the owner Steve Bisciotti and Eric DeCosta and Ozzie Newsome, who drafted him when he came out. He has done extremely well. But 9 years is and with the same team as you mentioned, Chris, is pretty unheard of. And he wanted his entire career to be at Baltimore. And if the Lord is willing, he's going into year 9. He will have one more year left on his contract. He will play out that last year. And hopefully, if he feels the need to continue to go and his body is held up, which he's taking good care of his body. Is one of the things that I thought Coach Saban did very, very well with the players there at the University of Alabama, helping them to understand how to be pros and how to be professionals and take care of their bodies and do the things that they need to do and make sure they stand in the hot tub, cold tub, taking care of any knick-knack injuries and staying on top of that, making sure they get the proper rest. Marlon's in bed every night by 7:30, 8 o'clock, up every morning by 6 o'clock, at the facility first thing in the morning, at the facility after the game, at the facility on their day off. I mean, he's at the facility, 7 days a week, doing something, taking care of something, watching film. And that's one of the things Coach Saban has preached to them. And you take Derrick Henry, he just signed a 2-year extension. So he's 31 and he don't look like he has slowed down at all. So those guys, know the recipe, and Coach Saban has gave them the roadmap and how to be ultimate pros. And I think Marlon is one of those ultimate pros, not because he's my son, but it is what it is. I mean, I've watched him and I see what he does in the off season. I see when I go up to visit what time he's in the bed, what time he's out bed, what time he's going to the facility, and he wants to win. So hopefully this year will be the year they really stacked this year. They built they went out in free agency and went through the draft and got a really good, strong team. And they're very strong in the secondary this year. Hopefully, if no injuries occur, and the offense clicked like it did last year. Hey, we could be playing on the last day of the year.
Yeah. Well, having a guy like Lamar Jackson doesn't hurt, having him back there on the offensive side. But you mentioned Derrick Henry, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your playing days. Going through some old pictures of Bobby Humphrey, the running back in the NFL. But I got to ask, man, the 1990 hairstyle. That was about as 1990 as it gets. I mean, that's one for all the ages right there.
Where in good heavens did you find these pictures, especially the one of Melvin Bradley and I? Melvin Bradley and I were the first 2 rookies they ever started in the backfield in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, it was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
We didn't have too good of an outcome, but, we made it there. But, oh, my God. Yeah, that was called the Mile High Top Fade.
And if anybody wants to see that, Kid and Play in the 90s, you can watch some of their movies. That's still hangs firm there. So anyway, we thought we'd have some fun with that one. Just really cool. But yeah, I mean, look, it's not all Marlon. Bobby was out there. You were doing your thing back in the day as well in the NFL. So
hey, Chris, now you notice that hairdo is fitted, nice cut. It looks really good. Now you pull up a picture of Marlon's. His hairdo is all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as neatly, freshly cut as that is right there. Come on now. Give your
boy
some props.
I got to think the helmet sits nicely on top of that. Just a little cushion there on top, right?
That's right.
One more time, the movie is called Nothing But a Winner. It is in movie theaters July 31st. And again, this isn't just for Bama fans. Bama fans are going to absolutely love it, but I think if you're just an SEC football fan, a college football fan, you're going to love this and see what went into the story of how Alabama has been able to do this all these years. Mr. Humphrey, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with the movie, and man, best of luck to Marlon. We'll see what the Ravens do this year.
All right. Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Or thanks again to Bobby Humphrey for joining us. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. For your second listen, you can check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith, he's got all the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.